Welcome back to another live lesson. So we're going to work on getting you guys moving a little bit today and do a little bit of turning as well. Now don't worry too much if you've only got a small area to practice this in. With the turning we're actually going to do Tic Tac Turning, which you can do on a smaller area, so at least you're not going to have tons and tons of space for this. Hopefully you feel a bit more confident on your board as well after last week when we were learning to jump on and off and learn the board flips and stuff. If any of you have got those nailed now, we'd really love to see them. Just post your clips up on LS10 on the Instagram, tag us in, and we'll get those shared on our page. We want to see how you guys are progressing. So hopefully you've enjoyed that and you've had a good session. So, pushing. Now, of course we want to be able to get moving around on our board, right? There's a few things that we need to think about first to make sure that we can do this properly and effectively. Also, everyone pushes a little bit differently. So we're going to give you the key foundations. If you find that you're pushing a little bit differently to how we're doing it, that's fine. If you're riding along, if you're keeping your balance, if you're stable on your board, that is all good. Okay? So don't worry about it too much. So first thing we need to think about with pushing is we're going to be starting off a little bit differently. So rather than standing behind our board in front of us, we're going to turn the board, so it's facing forward, and have our board between our feet like this, okay? Now everyone's got one foot that is most comfortable. Remember last week we were saying that it's a bit like being right or left-handed? This is exactly the same. So whichever foot feels easiest, we're going to get that on the board first, and we're going to cover up two bolts nearest to us that are at the front of the board. Just one foot on. I'm going to come up to the camera and show you a little bit. So, if you can just about see that, our foot is going to be covering up these two bolts up at the front. What you're looking for is a bit of a sad face with your shoe, so you'll have two eyes there and a sad face as well. Okay? So that's step one. If you don't know which foot is your most confident foot, try both. So try on one foot, and try on the other. Just give it a bit of a roll, and you'll probably feel which foot is the best one for you. Okay? So that's step one, making sure you've got that position. I'm going to turn my board around this way so you can see step two. So step one, we've got that foot on. What we're going to do next is bring the back foot onto the board. We're going to put it just behind the bolts and onto the tail there. So we're riding around in this kind of position. You've got one foot on the tail, and that other foot facing forward like this. Okay? Now remember what we said last week, we don't really want to be riding around like Bart Simpson or anything, okay? So once we're in this position, step three is that we're going to twist this foot so it's facing the same way as our back foot. That way our shoulders are lined up, we've got that triangle shape of our legs again, and we're all ready to go. So when we're getting on to push, I'll start from back here a bit. If you're completely new to this, maybe just get used to walking the board along a little bit at first. So being step one, keep a bit of weight on that front foot to stop your board flying out backwards, and just walk the board along a little bit and get used to the motion. Give you guys a few minutes to practice that at home as well. If you want to go at that one, Brad, I reckon you can do this one. If you feel like the board's going to slip back, just get your weight on the front foot, guys, okay? That's it. So you'll get used to where your weight needs to be on the board, right? Worst thing you can do when you're riding around is lean backwards. That's when the board's going to slip out from underneath. Cool, give you a couple more minutes just to practice walking the board backwards and forwards. Just get used to where your weight needs to be, and then we'll move on to the next step. Got any questions coming through at all? We've got Tosh on the page ready to answer your questions as well. Got any coming through yet? Oh, we all good. Cool.
Perhaps took off sideways.
Right guys, brilliant. So, if you've had a bit of time to practice that, that's awesome. Let's move on to the next step. So now that we know how to walk a board along, all we're going to do this time is try and get into that second step and the third step. So again, we're going to start one foot in front of the board, but this time we want to push and get the back foot straight onto the tail just behind the box, and then level this front foot. So we do it in 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Keep your knees nice and bent. Keep that triangle shape going with your legs. A bit of weight on the front of the board. You should have it. Go for it, give that a try. You know, well, let's see if you've got this one, man. I'm sure you do. Perfect. Go. Now what you might find is that your trucks, remember when we spoke about these last time? You might find that those wobbling around a little bit, it's making you turn off to one side or another. In a way that's a good thing, because now you know one way to turn. But if you're really struggling with that, and if the board's really wobbling around, try and keep your ankles fairly stiff and try not to lean forward or back too much. Keep your weight nice and central, and that should help you out. So all you're doing, just getting used to rolling around, just in a straight line. Now if you want to push again, there's an easy way to do that. If you imagine that when we're pushing, we're going 1, 2, and 3, then to push again, we go from 3, 2, to 1, and give yourself a push. You can also use that for stopping as well. You want to go down, Brad, so you can get a couple of pushes on. In terms of stopping, try not to stop by jumping off your board's going to go flying. Also, try not to stop too much by doing a tail stop like this. It's going to shred the end of your board. So try and do it with that foot brake. Go. Yeah, there you go, man. That's it. So there you go. So if you're not feeling too confident, if you're not really confident about taking another push, that back foot is going to help to stop you, okay? So remember, use that back foot. Now some of you at home, you might find it a little bit easier to push with your front foot and step on that way, okay? There's no real problem with that. If you're pushing confidently with that, then that's absolutely fine. It might be a little bit easier to try it the other way, then it helps you set up the tricks quicker. But if you're pushing that way with the front foot, that's absolutely fine. If you're pushing, if you're enjoying it, if you're confident, really doesn't matter. You push however you want. Cool, I'll give you guys a bit more time to practice that. Just get used to rolling up and down, backwards and forwards. Get used to braking and get used to where your weight needs to be as well. Have a bit of a cruise around and just get used to that movement. Cool. Go for it. Have a bit of a cruise if you want that. Then we'll move on in a little bit once people have had a go. Yeah, man, going through ramps as well. That's good.
Can you do this stuff?
Go to it.
Can you do this stuff?
I'm doing stunts. Oh god. Only just got learning. Oh, my ankle's still bad on it. Everything's like tweaking around. But we'll be back on it soon. Definitely. Go over here. I'm a bit of a. No, you don't want to do that. Freestyle. So, God, do you find it easier pushing with your front foot?
Yeah.
Cool, no problem. Some people will. Some people find it a lot easier pushing with the front foot rather than pushing with the back. However you want to do it, if you're pushing confidently, it's all good. Cool. Right, and if everyone's had a bit of a go at that, that's awesome. We'll move on to turning now. So we already know kind of one way to turn, which is by pushing on your toes and your heels and getting the trucks to do the work for you. Now that's all well and good, but unless your trucks are super loose, which they probably won't be at this point, you're not going to be able to turn particularly quick. So we want to learn a way of turning that's a little bit faster. which is why we come on to Tic Tac Turning. Now Tic Tac Turning is a little bit different. What we're doing here is we're using the back wheels to turn on. So we're almost using the board like a bit of a seesaw. So the more we push down on one end of the board, the more the front will come up. Remember, on a seesaw you just want to push down. You don't want to lean backwards or you'll fall off it, alright? Same with your board. So what we want to do is we want to get into position 3 that we were in when we were cruising around. So back foot on the tail, front foot just behind the box, knees nice and bent. All we're going to get used to at first, to get you used to this, is pushing down on the back foot a little bit, letting this knee go nice and loose so your board can come up, and then push the front of the board back into the floor. So, pushing on the tail, bringing the front up, and then pushing the front foot. Nice and easy. There you go, you've got it. If you're finding it quite hard, what you can do is try and get that foot a little bit further onto the tail. If you've got it really close to the truck, it's a little bit harder to lift up. Remember, you need that bit of pressure over the back wheels. There you go, man. So back forward. Just get used to that motion for now, because that's going to be the basic thing we need to do. Don't worry, man. That's it. Got it. Right, so sometimes your board's going to come up a little bit too much. That might mean that you're leaning back a little bit. All you've got to do there is remember you've got this front foot. So if you're coming up too low, just get your weight straight back over the front foot, you'll be all good. Go for it, man. Nice. That's it. Yeah, man. So if you feel really confident, you can try going on the back foot and front. Get used to rocking the board around like that. Make a bit of noise. Annoy your neighbours a bit if you're in an upstairs flat. Go for it. I'm sure they'll forgive you. Just jealous because you're having fun. It's all good. Remember, guys, don't worry. You know what? You're going to fall sometimes in skateboarding. This is what we do. We spend 90% of the time on the floor. Okay, in your first few months on the board, you're probably going to spend more time on the floor than on your board. Don't worry about it. Worse things happen, right? As long as you're trying and you keep practicing it, you'll fall less and less. You're all good. Cool. You alright, man? So, there you go. Say it's all good. All good. Let's try something a bit different then. So, we've learned how to bring the front wheels up. What we need to think about now is our upper body. Now, wherever we turn our shoulders, you can feel that your hips are turning with it. Okay? So the upper body is going to play quite an important part in this next bit. So now that we know how to pull the front of the board up, we want to learn how to turn the board. Now to do this, what might help you at first is to have your front arm, your leading arm out in front of you, and to almost point to where you want to go. Once your shoulder turns, that's going to turn your hips. So you're going to point to where you want to go, push down on the tail a little bit, and then swing that front foot to meet wherever your arm is. There you go, man. And then if you're good going towards your toes, try going to your heels. That's it. Get used to that movement a little bit. If you want to do a bigger turn, you're going to need to use more of your shoulders. So, for a small turn, you're going to do a small turn in your shoulders, a small point. If you want to do a bigger turn, you're winding up. That's going to get you a bigger turn, okay? So if you're wanting to do 180s and stuff, and bigger kick turns, swing those shoulders a little bit more, wind your arms up, and then release that to be able to get you around. Have a go at just doing some turns, man. See how it feels. That's it. There you go, man. Spot on. Sorted. That's it. That's all there is to it. What you will find is that going towards your toes is pretty easy because you can see where you're going. If you want a bit more of a challenge, you want to try going towards your heels. The problem with that is that you can't see where you're going. You're turning into the unknown. So, you want to widen the shoulders a little bit more and look over this shoulder to where you're going. That's going to help you get around. Okay? Keep practicing it a little bit, see how you get on. If you're pretty confident doing a small turn, see if you can do a bigger turn for us. See if you can get a full 360. Even a 180 would be a great start at this point. Just give it a try, just keep having a bit of a practice. Have a go, man. I bet you can get us a 180, Brad, definitely. What I want to do is widen the shoulders a bit more, a bit of a bigger spin.
Which way, this way?
Whichever way feels easiest, towards your toes. That way is going to be probably the easiest way for you, I reckon. Oh, that's it. That's good to be confident with this one, right? It's going to take a fair bit of weight in your shoulders to get it all the way around. If you're ever worried that the board's coming up too much, use the front foot and push the board back into the floor so you can balance. Okay, that's all you've got to do. Go for it, man. We'll get you moving in a sec as well, I reckon. I think you've got it. Honestly, dude, you're getting it. See, that's it. Getting a full turn on it. Nice. Right, so it's all about learning how much you need to swing your shoulders and really understanding that relationship between your upper body and your feet as well. Whatever tricks I'm doing, my upper body needs to be fairly lined up, particularly when I'm doing spins or anything like that. Even 180 ollies and other tricks, you're going to need to use your upper body and have an understanding of that too. So now that we've learned to tic-tac, now that we've learned to push, let's see if we can combine the two together. So,
Just let you know, Caleb's just done a 180.
has he? Nice, Caleb, good job, man, good job. I say, if you've got some good spins going on and some good kick turns, find us on Instagram, tag us in your clips, and we'd love to share those up on our page as well. Might even get a bit of a competition going, post spins maybe, take it back to the 70s. Grown men rewarding the act of spinning round in a circle, right? So, now that you've got your tic-tacking going, now that you know how to push, we've got to try and combine the two and get used to turning. Now, first what we might want to do is just learn to go forwards and backwards, so to your toes and then your heels. Just take a bit of a push, you don't have to be going fast. Just see if you can tic-tac around a bit. That's going to get the speed going as well. You can use tic-tacs to build up momentum. Just see if you can get used to riding around and doing your tic-tac turns at the same time. Go for it, man. Give it a go. The only thing to think about here is because you're moving forward, remember to keep a bit more weight on the front of the board so that you don't slip out backwards. Cool. Right, you've got this one. That's it. There you go. It's all about confidence and ball feel, this one. So the more you do it, just come second next to it. That's good, man. Right guys, so I've managed to get through quite a bit today, which is awesome. I hope you guys have found that helpful at home. So you've learned how to push, which is brilliant. You've learned how to tic-tac, and you've learned the kick turns as well, so doing bigger tic-tac turns. Now those can be applied on ramps, reverts as well, so when you come down to the skate park and you're getting on the ramps, a lot of these things, turning in particular, can be translated onto the ramps quite easily with a little bit of know-how. Further on in the series, we'll probably do a little bit of ramp work so you guys have got an idea of how this works. And I know some of you have been busy building ramps at home as well, which is great. So we'll come back to that one. Tune in again next week, we'll have another lesson for you. And remember, we've got Get Active Camp bookings live on our website at the moment. So if you want to book in for a session and get a full day exploring tons of different extreme sports and some arts and crafts too, get onto our website and you can get yourself booked in. Hopefully we'll see you for a session really soon. Any questions, get in touch and have fun. Have a good skate. Cheers guys.